Now, I do want to jump over here to talk a bit about Candace Owens, because this is a fun person, right? Candace Owens is a very fun person. If you've ever followed Gamergate, at least towards the tail end of it, you know about Candace Owens, you know about what she's done, and now she finds herself in a very interesting position where she has gained a lot of prominence by, in my personal opinion, lying her ass off to a number of people. But she did something here that I do have to give her credit for. She called out Twitter on their bullshit, and she actually ended up kind of winning the round. So that's good. I guess a broken clock is right twice a day, sort of thing. But it says here that Candace Owens, suspended off of Twitter, then gets brought back, and Twitter says, "Oops, it was an error. Our bad, you guys." Twitter suspended conservative commentator Candace Owens. I think there should be an asterisk there. It says paid conservative commentator, because I think at this point it's pretty much known that she will sell her opinions for cash. One thing her and Dave Rubin have in common, says here on Sunday, for imitating New York Times editorial board member Sarah Jeong's anti-white tweets, but restored Owens' account access following a backlash on social media. Owens, the communications director for conservative activist group Turning Points USA, on Saturday sent out a pair of tweets quoting John's anti-white statements, which did not earn her a suspension, but swapped the word white with Jewish and black. On Twitter on Sunday suspended Owens' account for 12 hours, citing her tweet about Jewish people as a violation of Twitter rules. And the thing with that is, though, is this is an argument. I have to give Candace Owens credit here, which, believe me when I say, I really hate having to do. But this is something that, well, quite frankly, many people of us who are the commentator community, those of us who don't fall in line with the snowflakes of the left, with the SJWs of the left, and how they attack everything, and how they are very, 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 very hypocritical when it comes to dealing with bigotry and racism. This is definitely a win in that regard, because how many times have we asked the question when we see these articles, we see these headlines, white people do this, and then it's like, well, what happens if you were to switch that? If you were to offer, say it was black, or they were Hispanic, or they were Asian, or they were gay, or they were lesbian, or they were trans, or they were a turtle otherkin of something along that line, what would happen at that point? Well, would you get, people would freak out. They would lose their shit. So here we do have Sarah Jeong from New York Times. Well, at least this is many years ago. And it's been very heavily publicized over the course of this weekend, having her tweets that, in Candace Owens' case, she just kind of flipped the script on it, and she ended up, getting herself suspended. And that proved the point. And Twitter now realizes, I think, oops-a-daisy. But it goes on to say here, this is the one that she quoted here. Jewish people are bullshit, like dogs pissing on fire hydrants. Hashtag cancel Jewish people. Are Jewish people genetically disposed to burn faster in the sun? The above statements are from New York Times editor Sarah Jeong. I simply swapped out the word white for Jewish. And yeah, that's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad tweet from its original poster, from Sarah Jeong. Who clearly from 2012 to 2014, it seems like, was on this very large tirade on Twitter, going after the white folk, which at the time probably, didn't bother anybody. But now here we are in 2018, and everyone's offended all the time about every little thing. Now, she actually goes on to say here, and this is from Sarah herself from November 28, 2014, dumbass fucking white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs pissing on fire hydrants. And we can see here that they're, clearly it's not a one-to-one recreation of the tweet, but it is very much close to that as a result. And what we have here is a situation where, yeah, there is clearly parody and satire and showcasing the double standard that Twitter seems to have. Now, it goes on to say here that Twitter restored Owens access following a sharp backlash. The social media company chalked up the suspension as a quote-unquote error, saying Twitter takes reports of violations of Twitter rules very seriously. Twitter support team wrote in an email to Owens, who shared it, saying here, after reviewing your account, it looks like we made an error. This was our mistake, and we've apologized to the account owner for the error, a spokesperson for Twitter said. The spokesperson did not say whether a human content monitor or an algorithm was responsible for suspending Owens' account. I'm going to go as far as to say that it probably was an algorithm. That, or they do have a group of people that are human moderators that are meant to look through and absolutely positively monitor the speech of some people. Now, that could be a reality as well. We know how Twitter has effectively screwed itself in terms of ever being sold. All right. It's been a year. It's been a little over a year now since there was that idea that Twitter might be sold. Microsoft had expressed some interest. Disney had expressed some interest. Other companies had expressed interest. I believe it was 4 in total, and somebody was set to make a bid. There was this big hubbubaloo about that, and it was all meant, I think, to drive up the stock price of Twitter, which has been always pretty But then, of course, no one decided to purchase it. And hell, Disney then went on the next week to go purchase a streaming company in order to then make their Disney Direct service coming out next year. Nobody wants to buy Twitter because it's a cesspool, because of people like Sarah Zhang who play to one side, and Twitter who then, because of Silicon Valley and the way that it views things, essentially backs them up. And when Candace Owens does something that is productive to the conversation, again, I really hate to give her credit on that one, we see that there is a stark hypocrisy. Now, it says here that Owens' objective in sending out the provocative tweets was to demonstrate what she sees as a racial double standard. She says she links to Twitter to prove her point beautifully. The thing is, I wouldn't have minded if I was locked out, because I actually agree with Twitter that language is inappropriate. My point in tweeting that and replacing the word black and Jewish yesterday was to show how differently that mentality is when you see it in the context and you see talking about Jewish people and predisposed to burning under the sun, or black people saying they should live underground. It's horrifically racist, but somehow we've gotten to a point in society where it's okay to say the exact same thing about white people, and that's problematic. Going on to say here that Twitter's regulation of speech is under increased scrutiny after the company was revealed to have suppressed prominent conservatives on the platform, including Republican reps Matt Gaetz of Florida, Jim Jordan of Ohio, Mark Meadows of North Carolina, and Devin Nunes of California. Then, too, Twitter said its censorship was in error. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I really do feel like Twitter doesn't have these things in error as much as they want to. I think, given the way things are, 69 million Americans use Twitter. A lot of them are conservative. And it's not just that. It's not just conservative people. All right. I've noticed a big problem on Twitter recently where I'm not seeing tweets that are in my mentions, right? So in my notifications of people who I follow, if I do a name search, I won't see those tweets. Or if I tweet something and I see it has like 25 responses, I might only see 5 or 6 of them. Twitter is selectively telling me what I can and cannot view. And this isn't just like people that I've muted or whatever. This is legitimate people. So I have to go and actually go to an incognito window and bring up the actual search in order to then read what people are legitimately saying, because the platform has become so restrictive via its own algorithm, trying to isolate what they call like low rent posts or low quality posts. And everything else, where people who are on the left and on the right are getting just silenced from one another. And I think that's not helping the situation at all. And at the end of this whole thing, I do have to give Candace Owens credit, because she exposed something for the hypocrisy that it is, which is true. And, she's right in agreeing that it clearly is not language that is appropriate in this regard, which is true. And Twitter now has egg on their face in a very, very, very public way, which is good. And hopefully they will fix the error and start actually trying to run their platform like something that does resemble someone that promotes free speech, and someone that doesn't just try to ban people that they disagree with on an ideological level. But it's Twitter, so the likelihood of that actually ever being a thing is going to be very, very minimal.